People who fetishized a city or country, like NYC or Japan, and then actually took a leap of faith to move there. How has your opinion changed since? I'm from Canada, and I moved to France. It was incredibly overwhelming and I didn't last long. I was also pretty young and hadn't been to Europe before. I applaud myself for giving it a shot, but I'd like to go back and create better memories. Edit, I didn't stay in Paris, I went directly out to Normandy. It was beautiful, but I was placed with a family that wasn't particularly sensitive to the fact that I came all the way from North America. They had other students stay with them from Europe, but I was the most foreign. This post has taught me the big problem with any place is the people. Man, people will ruin any city, just give them time. People, what a bunch of bastards. Hawaii. It is absolutely gorgeous. Had land there and spent time there during the downturn. The tourist thing wears off though, and although it is still an absolutely gorgeous place, the cost of living, the corruption in government, and seemingly like every contractor is trying to rip you off spoiled it for me as a long-term relo. Lived in Hawaii a few years ago and worked under a friend's family's contracting business. Can confirm that they try and rip off owners for anything and everything, even going as far as doing half the work and disappearing with the money. Edit, grew up doing masonry and landscaping type work my whole life. I know terrorist shit contractors all over, but it was on another level in Hawaii. I was obsessed with Japan when I was in high school and my mom sent me there for an exchange year. At the time Japan was known as a country with advanced technology and I had read that the taxis had doors that opened for the passenger. I thought it would be something like the Back to the Future Tesla Model X doors. The biggest disappointment was that it was just a lever the driver pulls and it's an ordinary car. I had also read up a lot about a culture of perfection where even stray leaves were removed from gardens, meals were perfectly balanced to the seasons, people were modest and crime was low. As a 16-year-old schoolgirl I was molested twice walking home, my wallet was stolen, my host family preferred eating McDonald's, they had televisions running in every room of their house every waking hour and I was made fun of for reading books. I was supposed to be there for a year but was so homesick I left 3 months early. To be fair, a lot of that was because of my host family, we were pretty poorly matched. I later went to work in Hokkaido when I finished uni and had a great time there as the people are a lot more relaxed. I also really liked my school and particularly my tea ceremony teacher who was an amazingly talented and kind lady. I now work for a Japanese company and my colleagues and boss are great. Your host family was literally the family from Matilda. So her host was Danny DeVito. I wanted to go to New Zealand since I was 10 and my best friend moved there. I finally went when I was 25 and got a 1-year working visa. It was awesome, I met my husband there, and saw my old friend again. It's still great, I would live there if they'd have me. It was Finland for me. Rather weird country to obsess about, but I started learning the language in high school and fell in love with the culture. Went there for an exchange and was shocked at how close to paradise it was. Beautiful nature, friendly and helpful people, good quality food and more humane pace of life. It helped that I lived with a wonderful host family in a small town. The people you meet are a huge part of your experience in a place. Best part was getting to learn more Finnish. TL, Dr. Finland was exactly what I fantasized it would be. WTF, welcome to Finland. When did you move here and what city? Where did you move from? It's really odd to us Finns that people fantasize moving here, but I'm glad you enjoy the land of thousands of lakes. I'm from the States, but I lived in Hamina for a year because I did a high school exchange. Hamina oli muun mielestä spin kaupunki maailmassa. Ajuin pikukaupungissä lapsina niin oli viichen nostalginen palautumaan paikkaan jossa keskusta oli niin lähellä ja oli mahdollista vein keikien. We visited my family's mpi once and I was amazed by how we could just get water from the lake. I'm not in Finland anymore, I had to start college, but I think about it all the time. Haluan jossa vaiheessa palautumaan johonneksi. That's awesome to hear. Hamina is a great old city in Finland and quite unique in architecture too. It paints a very different picture of Finland compared to Helsinki. I think foreign exchange students should study somewhere like Hamina, Lappeenranta, Lahti of Lappi and not in Helsinki. Emoji plus sauna is the best part in Finnish culture. Nothing beats the silence and relaxation there. What do you think about Finnish food and especially salmiakki? Yeah, I felt really lucky not living in Helsinki, it made trips into the city more special, and I got to experience normal life. I totally loved going to the sauna, I really miss it now. The rest of the world needs more saunas. Finnish food was surprisingly awesome. I loved louhikieto and karjalanpyrokoita, not that we had those very often. Hesburger was far better than McDonald's, which was nice. I tried Me Too and that was really good. I liked tervasamiaki better than the normal kind, but I definitely appreciated licorice more after being there. Probably not a city that people dream about moving to, but for me, Chicago. I loved Chicago from age 6, saw Ferris Bueller, visited a couple times, loved it even more, and then moved here 3 years ago. It feels like home. I absolutely love it here. Sure, the winters can suck, but I appreciate the nicer days so much more. Edit, my opinion on Chicago hasn't really changed. I love it more though and am proud to say I live here. I visited Chicago for an afternoon around 1998 and knew I would live here someday. Moved here 14 years ago, and I still love it. I've been driving Uber/Lyft for a few years now as a side hustle, and I've really gotten to know the city. I've thought about moving sometimes due to the winter weather, but I just can't see myself ever loving or knowing another city this way. New Orleans is deeper and broader than I imagine. 20 years later I have no regrets, only memories that I reflect upon and smile. When I tell stories I have to leave things out, because the reality is unbelievable. Can I get a glimpse of why it's unbelievable at least? I'd love to visit sometime. Edit, I am now convinced I really need to visit NOLA. Thanks guys. I've lived here all my life, grew up just outside the city, and most of the best things about New Orleans are hard to explain. It's the food. It's the people. It's the attitude. It's a little cliché, but you just have to live here to truly experience it. It's not for everyone, but if it's for you it will entrench itself into your soul. Fun story that pops into my head. I was at Jazz Fest a few years back rocking out. Like most things in New Orleans, you tend to make friends with those around you for the day. One of the guys around us had a trach tube, the kind that they have to hold a finger over to talk and they sound like a machine. So all day Hess kind of giving everyone that smokes a hard time, saying you don't want to end up like me. Billy Joel was the main act, and in the middle of his set I look back at this guy and Hess hitting a joint. Not like normal, up to his mouth though. Hess got a roach clip holding this joint to his trach tube and puffing away, exhaling through his mouth. It's not really a memory of the city, just one that has stuck with me through the years. Into the Wild was my introduction to Alaska. In from the tropics. Met an Alaskan man. Visited in the summer. Loved it. Married the Alaskan man. Moved in the summer after. Finally found out what an interior Alaskan winter was like. Hated it, but husband will not move. Became a reverse Persephone, my cold-weathered husband sends me back to the land of hot weather for a month of the year. Still completely in love with the Alaskan summer. Seattle. Spent my first 30 years living up and down the eastern seaboard from Pas de Gras. I was in grad school in SC and inexplicably Seattle just popped in my head one day, no trigger or anything. For the last 6 months of school, 2003, it just consumed me, sight unseen I needed to be there. So that's what I did. Got my degree, packed up my car with no job, place to live or contacts and drove to Seattle. It could very well be a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it was everything I wanted it to be. The city has changed quite a bit with the Amazon explosion, but I'm glad I got to live some old Seattle. There's still plenty of treasure to be mined. Sure, the luster is gone, but I have a family now and still love to explore the city with my daughter. All my old haunts are gone, but the fun now is finding new haunts. It's what we make of it. I found it really depressing when all the places I had hung out at when I was in my early 20s were closed up, and replaced by places early 20s me would have never wanted to go and could never afford anyway. The song Gold Rush by Death Cab for Cutie is about exactly this. U2.B. I'm an American, was a serious Irish dancer my whole childhood. I also play music. I wanted to move to Ireland and go to university there, and I did. Overall, it was a great experience, especially in terms of local music dancing and opportunities to learn more. But also I hated my degree program and ended up studying abroad and then transferring to a school in Canada, where I'm much better settled. I still pinch my pennies to go back to Ireland and visit my friends and stuff, but I'd never ever live there long term again. Also, I hate cold rainy weather and have asthmatic reactions to mold, so Ireland's climate was actively trying to kill me the entire time I was there. Good times. No regrets, but also wouldn't repeat. Edit, did not expect my highest rated comment to be about my quarter life crisis. I hope no one from my actual life sees this lol. Not as popular, but Greece. My maternal grandparents are Greek. It's a big loud friendly group and had been my entire life. I had a several-month-long gap before grad school and a great-aunt willing to house me, so I moved to Patras. The first few weeks were wonderful. I did all the tourist things, then I realized how forced all of it was. You can't just ever have a friend over, it has to be a major production. The food was wonderful, but every contractor or small business I interacted with took it at a point of pride to tack on added fees or try to scam me. I was stolen from multiple times. The older people, particularly the men, had no personal boundaries at all, and their wives would hand wave off anything. Everything public that wasn't intended for tourists was falling to pieces. It was just very sad considering how proud I had been of my Greek roots until then.